21st century learning. There are so many definitions out there that vary from person to person. How can you just pick one? First, we have to realize the facts. Society has been and always will be changing, and as educators, it is our job to keep up with it. We are past that sitting in rows, listening to teachers' lectures, taking notes, and doing worksheets. And now we have moved to this thing called 21st century learning. So, what is it? There are three aspects of 21st century learning that appeared most often as I was looking into this. And I'm going to focus on the first one, which is creativity. Number 2 is collaboration. And number 3, one of my favorites, inquiry-based learning. In an article titled, "What are the 4 C's of 21st Century Skills?" Applied Educational Systems, or AES, defined creativity as the way of thinking outside the box. I try my best to be as creative as possible when I teach so that my students can see it firsthand. As a school-wide literacy project in April, which is also Poetry Month, I decided to create a giant poet tree in my room. I provided students with leaves and magazine clippings. From there, it was up to them to create their own poems. At first, my students were frustrated, but once they got going, there was no stopping them. On Teach Thought, Jennifer Rita Nichols wrote an article, 4 Essential Rules of 21st Century Learning, where she explained how students should be encouraged to work together to discover information, piece it together, and construct meaning. In my classroom, my goal is to help my students be successful in society. And since we live in a society where people work together all the time, be it in school, in work, or just socially, I try my best to both model and promote group collaboration whenever possible. In my 4th grade math class, I tried out collaboration at its finest by bringing Breakout EDU to my students to review for a unit test. It was amazing to just kind of sit back and watch as my students worked together, overcame lots of conflict, and put their knowledge to the test. And number 3, inquiry-based learning. In his YouTube video, 21st Century Learning, Scott Crumby discussed how inquiry-based learning takes the student-centered approach and combines it with the real-world applications, and I just loved that. He stated that inquiry-based learning prepares students for an uncertain future by providing an education that supports them to actively engage in their learning. When I was student teaching in a 2nd grade classroom, I designed a science unit that was based on inquiry-based learning. The entire unit involved myself posing these questions and having the students, through hands-on experiences, engage in their own work, group work, partner work, any combination to explore the world around them through those experiences, which led them to noticing patterns, and in the end, leading to a final explanation. Now, these are only 3 aspects of a term that could be defined in many, many ways. The beauty of teaching as a profession is that there is always an opportunity to learn and grow as an educator. Being a first-year teacher, I feel as if I already kind of incorporate a decent amount of these aspects into my teaching because I was instantly exposed to many of these ideas during my undergraduate years and during my student teaching. But I know there's so much more that I can and want to do. One thing I want to challenge both myself and my students with is collaboration via technology. There are so many different ways to promote collaboration in your classroom, but with our society changing, students need to know how to work together digitally as well as in person. One project I did this year involved pairing up our lower school homerooms with junior school homerooms. So that's kindergarten through 2nd grade with our 3rd through 5th graders. And they each read the same children's book, and then the lower school students asked their junior school friends questions about the book on Flipgrid. I would really like to take this project to the next level one day by pairing up with a school to increase that community awareness and trying to collaborate via the internet to complete a project of some sort. An assignment like this would combine all aspects of TPAC. It would get your technological knowledge, your pedagogical knowledge, and your content knowledge, combining it all together to create an awesome unit. Another thing I want to increase is the idea of inquiry-based learning. I want to do this because it is a great way to have students be self-motivated and determined to learn. The possibilities are really endless with inquiry-based learning, as long as I provide the resources for my students to be successful. This takes me back to my blog post about cooking with TPACK and how I would have to repurpose technology in order to support my students' success. My professional learning network would be an extremely useful source in helping me plan and get advice for new ideas to bring to the classroom. Now, to wrap this all up, many people, educators or not, have their own version of what it means to be a 21st century learner. However, there often is a lot of overlap in the general characteristics that make up those definitions. I've experienced many lessons both as a student and an educator that incorporate at least one aspect of 21st century learning, and I believe that it is the best way to set up our students for success in their futures.